Hello guys, in our last video we have seen the folders and file structure of React, and also we did a simple program on it, and in this video we are going to discuss on what a component is, type of component, and also if time permits we will develop a simple stateless functional component. So without wasting any time, let's get started. In React, a component represents a section of a user interface. An application in React is a collection of several other components. Consider this example where you have three components named header, main component, and footer. Now you can also add more components like side nav on the left as well as on the right. This also includes the root component that holds every other components. It is also referred to as an app component. This is an example where I can say that one component can hold another component, which in turn can hold another. From this point, I'm sure you would have now understood that one component refers to only a single section of a React app, and a collection of all the components represents the entire React app. There is one more point that I want to tell here is that the components are reusable. For example, let's say in the main component, I want to add testimonials of 5 customers as shown. You can see from this example that the same component is used with different data. Now let us understand the various methods to create a component. There are mainly two methods to create a component using React. Number one, either using JavaScript file with the .js extension or by using a file with .jsx extension. We will be discussing about the .jsx file in our later videos. However, let us now mainly focus on the .js JavaScript file. There are mainly two types of components that can be created using .js file. Number one, stateless functional component or stateful class components. The stateless functional components are mainly the JavaScript functions, and most of these functions returns the HTML that represents the UI. The stateless functional component can either be a regular JavaScript function or an ES6 class. For example, you can see these are the two examples I've showed here, one with the help of a JavaScript function and the other with the help of an ES6 class. In the JavaScript function, you can see this function is a valid React component because it accepts a single props object as an argument along with the data and returns the React element. We call such component the functional component because they are literally JavaScript functions. On the other hand, this is an example of ES6 class, but we will be discussing about this in our later videos. Alright. Okay, let me just take you back to the VS Code where we'll try to implement this welcome component using the JavaScript function. Alright. Okay, this was a program which we have done in the last video where it was printing hello world. Right, we only encountered React element that represents DOM tags here. Like here we were using the h1 and marquee tag. These are the DOM tags, isn't it? Now the elements can also represent user defined components. For example, let me just comment this part. Now I'll define a function. So function component name will be welcome. Now understand that in React the one of the standard which you have to maintain is whenever you name any component, the first letter must be in capital letters. All right, then within bracket props curly braces, within that we return h1, then welcome. Instead of welcome, let's say hello, comma, within curly brace props dot name. All right, and then end the statement with a semicolon. So our function is ready here. We will call this function below. So I'll declare a variable using the var command where element is equal to the component name is welcome, and I'll use an attribute name, and within double quotes the value is Rajiv, and close the element. Okay, this component is calling this JavaScript function welcome, and which in turn is receiving the all the parameters that are passed into this props object, and it will enter the body of the function and return this React element back to the place from where it was called, and the result will be assigned to this variable called element. Is it clear? Now the output of this variable element need to be printed in the root node. So in the next line we are going to call the render function using the React node DOM object and pass this element as the first parameter and document dot get element by id as the second parameter with the name of the id, which is in our case it is root. All right, yeah. So let us try to compile this code using Control S and see if our code works. Yeah, so there we are. We have got the output hello Rajiv. All right, so in this example the code renders hello Rajiv on the page using the regular JavaScript function. I hope you understand this code now, but in this case I am using regular JavaScript code, which most of the traditional way of writing JavaScript, which we are already familiar with. But if you use ES6 or the modern JavaScript, the Babel will do the conversion from the modern JavaScript to the regular JavaScript, which most of the browsers can understand. All right. Now, in my last video, I have already explained to you that you're required to include this React module in order to make that Babel available in your code. So what is a functional component? A functional component is basically a JavaScript function that receives optionally an object of properties that is normally referred to as props and return an HTML code that becomes a part of the UI. Alright, now this HTML code is actually called as JSX, but for the beginner's point of view, let us just refer to them as HTML for the time being. Alright. Now, as I told you before, that this regular JavaScript function can also be written using the ECMAScript ES6. So if the same code have to be done using ES6, how we are going to do it? In that case, then this code there will be a different in the code. Instead of using the var statement, let me just comment it now. And instead of this var statement, we'll use import command. So the command will be like this: import React from, provide the name of the module, which is React, put a semicolon. Now second, this var statement also will change, and let me use again import React DOM from React DOM module, end it with a semicolon. Now here, instead of using this function, we will use a class. So let me just comment this entire function and introduce a class here. So class component name extends react dot component, and within that you have this render method, and within the body of the render method we will return the React element. So return h1 hello comma within curly brace this dot props dot name. All right, and then end this statement with the semicolon. So your class declaration is ready here. And down here, using this var command I have to change now. We need to use, because now it is instead of var command we have to use const. So const element is equal to welcome name is equal to Rajiv, and in the next command we are calling the render method again and passing this argument. So there will be no difference here. So let me compile and run this program and see if it works. Yes, it works. So now we have completely transformed from the regular JavaScript code to the ECMAScript. So this is where the Babel will come into picture, where this React module will call the Babel to compile and transform this modern JavaScript code to the regular JavaScript that which most of the browsers can understand. All right. I hope through this video now at least you've got some basic idea of what a component is, types of components, and how to create component using regular JavaScript method as well as using ECMAScript. In my next video we'll learn more on this. If you have not yet subscribed my channel, please do so, and like and share my video and click on that notification button so that you can get the updates very frequently. Alright, so happy coding, and till then, bye bye.